The stars looked different here at the edge of known space. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the distant galaxies through the main viewport. His ship had been traveling for 3 months, carrying out what the Terran Defense Command called a routine patrol mission. But Jake knew better. Nothing was routine when you were this far from Earth. "Captain, we have contact," Lieutenant Commander Ryan Walsh called from his station. "Unknown vessels approaching from Sector 7. Jake turned to face his weapons officer. Ryan was young but sharp, one of the best gunners in the fleet. "How many ships?" 15 vessels, sir. "They're big. Much bigger than us." Chief Engineer Maria Santos looked up from her console. "Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our database, Captain. These aren't human ships." Jake felt his heart rate increase, but his face remained calm. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for, since they first looked up at the stars. First contact with alien life. "All stop. Maintain current position. Send a message to Admiral Carter on Earth. Tell her we have contact." Dr. Amy Rodriguez, the ship's science officer, worked quickly at her station. "Captain, I'm detecting advanced scanning beams. They're trying to analyze our ship." "Let them look," Jake said quietly. "All crew, this is the captain. We are now in first contact protocol. Everyone knows their jobs. Stay calm and follow orders." The alien ships moved closer. On the main screen, Jake could see them clearly now. They were beautiful in a strange way, with smooth curves and what looked like living metal. Blue lights pulsed along their hulls. These ships were clearly built by a race far ahead of humanity in technology. "Sir, they're hailing us," reported Communications Officer Tony Blake. "Put them through." The screen flickered and an alien face appeared. The creature had pale blue skin, large black eyes, and what looked like gills on the sides of its neck. When it spoke, the universal translator worked to convert its words. "Unknown vessel, I am Commander Vexthara of the Zephyrian Empire. You have entered our space without permission. Identify yourself." Jake stepped forward. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Defiance. We come in peace and had no knowledge this space belonged to anyone." Commander Vexthara's large eyes seemed to study Jake with interest. "Earth, we have no record of your species. Your vessel appears a primitive. How did you achieve faster-than-light travel with such basic technology?" "We manage," Jake replied simply. The alien commander spoke to someone off-screen, then turned back. "Captain Morrison, we are conducting a detailed scan of your vessel. Do not resist or attempt to flee. Our technology is far superior to yours." Jake nodded. "We won't resist." The communication ended. Jake looked around his bridge. Every crew member was at their station, ready for whatever came next. These people had trained for years for this moment. "Sir," Dr. Rodriguez called out, "their scanning beams are very advanced. They're using quantum resonance to penetrate our hull and map our internal systems." "Are they getting what they expect to see?" Jake asked. Amy smiled slightly. "Yes, sir. All camouflage systems are working perfectly. To them, we look exactly like what we want to look like." On the alien ship, Science Officer Kethmol was reporting his findings to Commander Vexthara. The human ship was indeed primitive. Its hull was made of simple metal alloys. Its weapons appeared to be basic kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. The power source seemed to be a small fusion reactor, barely advanced enough to power faster-than-light travel. "Commander," Kethmol said with amusement in his voice, "this species has achieved space travel, but just barely. Their technology is at least 2,000 years behind ours." Commander Vexthara studied the scan results on his display. The human ship was small, about the size of one of their escort vessels. Its weapons would barely scratch the paint on a Zephyrian warship. "How many crew members?" "Approximately 150, sir. All appear to be organic life forms. No artificial intelligence or cybernetic enhancement that we can detect." "Fascinating. A species that achieves space travel through pure biological intelligence." Vexthara made his decision. "Surround their vessel. We will take them to the nearest research station. The High Command will want to study these primitives." Back on the Defiance, Jake watched as the alien ships moved into position around them. 15 massive vessels, each one easily 3 times the size of his ship. To any outside observer, humanity was clearly outmatched. "Captain," Ryan said quietly, "they're powering weapons. Should I ready our defenses?" "Not yet," Jake replied. "Dr. Rodriguez, are you getting good scans of their ships?" "Yes, sir. Our passive sensors are mapping everything. Their shield frequencies, weapon types, engine signatures. even their internal layout. Excellent. Jake touched his communication panel. This is the captain to all crew. Remember your training. What looks like surrender is actually reconnaissance. Let them think they have the advantage. Lieutenant Commander Walsh understood. During their training, they had learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not their guns or their ships. It was the ability to make enemies underestimate them. Every human vessel was designed to look primitive while hiding incredible technology. The alien commander's voice came over the communication system again. Captain Morrison, you will follow our ships to the nearest Zephyrian station. Any attempt to flee will result in the destruction of your vessel. Understood, Commander. We'll comply with your instructions. As the alien fleet began to move, with the Defiant surrounded in the middle, Jake allowed himself a small smile. These aliens thought they had captured a primitive human ship. They had no idea what they were really dealing with. Sir, Maria Santos called from her engineering station. All systems are ready. The concealment protocols are holding perfectly. Very good, Chief. Dr. Rodriguez, how long until Admiral Carter receives our message? About 6 hours, sir. She should have the full scan data of these alien ships by then. Jake nodded. In 6 hours, Earth would know everything about Zephyrian technology. And if things went according to plan, the Zephyrians would learn a very important lesson about humanity. Sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that looks like prey. The journey to the Zephyrian research station took 4 hours. During that time, the alien ships maintained their formation around the UES Defiance, treating the human vessel like a captured prize. Commander Vexithara felt pleased with himself. First contact with a new species would bring him great honor in the Empire. Captain Jake Morrison spent those 4 hours reviewing tactical data with his senior officers. In the ship's briefing room, away from any sensors the aliens might still be using, he spoke quietly with his team. Admiral Carter should have received our message by now, Jake said. That means Earth knows about the Zephyrians. Our job here is to gather as much intelligence as possible. Dr. Amy Rodriguez pulled up the scan data on her tablet. Captain, I've learned a lot about their technology. Their shields operate on a rotating frequency pattern. Their weapons are plasma-based, very powerful, but they take time to charge between shots. What about their ship construction? Asked Chief Engineer Maria Santos. Interesting. They use a living metal that can repair itself, but it's weak to certain types of electromagnetic pulse. Their hulls are designed to resist energy weapons, not kinetic impacts. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Walsh leaned forward. So our railguns would be effective? More than effective, Amy replied. Their scans showed them our decoy weapons, but they missed our real armament completely. Jake nodded. Good. How long until we reach their station? About 30 minutes, sir, replied Navigation Officer Tony Blake. 25 minutes later, Jake's communication panel buzzed. It was a priority message from Earth, transmitted on a frequency the aliens couldn't detect. Jake read it quickly, then looked up at his crew with a slight smile. Admiral Carter sends her regards. She also sends authorization code Omega-7. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Omega-7 meant only one thing: reveal capabilities and engage if necessary. Earth was giving them permission to show the aliens what humanity was really capable of. Sir, Communications Officer Tony Blake reported, the aliens are hailing us again. Put them through. Commander Vexthara appeared on the screen. Behind him, Jake could see the alien bridge, with crew members working at stations that looked like they were grown rather than built. Captain Morrison, we are approaching Research Station Delta 9. You will dock with our facility and your crew will be transferred for study. For study? Jake asked. We're not laboratory animals, Commander. You are a primitive species that has somehow achieved spaceflight. The Empire's scientists wish to understand how this is possible. Do not worry, you will be treated well. Jake looked at his crew, then back at the alien commander. I'm afraid I can't allow that, Commander Vexithara. The alien's large black eyes seemed to widen in surprise. You cannot allow it? Captain Morrison, you are surrounded by 15 warships. Your primitive vessel poses no threat to us. About that, Jake said calmly. I think there might be some misunderstanding about our capabilities. Computer authorization Morrison Alpha 7. Remove all concealment protocols. The bridge of the Defiant suddenly came alive with new sounds and lights. Systems that had been hidden activated throughout the ship. The dull metal hull began to shift and change as advanced armor plating emerged from hidden compartments. On the Zephyrian ships, alarms began sounding. Science Officer Kethamol stared at his instruments in shock. Commander, the human ship is changing. I'm reading massive energy signatures that weren't there before. What kind of energy signatures? Vexthara demanded. Sir, their power output just increased by 3,000%, and they're showing weapon systems that can't be possible. On the Defiance, Chief Engineer Maria Santos was bringing the ship's true systems online. The small fusion reactor that the aliens had detected was just a backup power source. The ship's real power came from a contained singularity drive, technology that the Zephyrians had never imagined possible. Chief, Jake called out, how are our systems looking? All green, Captain. Gravitic drives online. Metamaterial armor deployed. Relativistic rail cannon systems ready for firing. Dr. Rodriguez was monitoring the alien ships. Sir, they're trying to scan us again, but our quantum scramblers are blocking them. They can't get a clear reading on our true capabilities. Lieutenant Commander Walsh was at his weapon station, watching as targeting systems that had been hidden in maintenance panels emerged and locked onto the Zephyrian vessels. Captain, I have firing solutions on all 15 targets. Jake turned back to the communication screen. Commander Vexithara's confident expression had changed to one of confusion and growing fear. Commander, Jake said politely, I think we need to have a more honest conversation. My ship isn't primitive. We just wanted you to think it was. Impossible, Vexithara replied, but his voice was less certain now. Our scans were thorough. We detected no advanced technology. Your scans detected exactly what we wanted them to detect. You see, Commander, humanity learned long ago that the most effective weapon is the one your enemy doesn't know you have. On the alien bridge, Kethamol was working frantically at his station. Sir, I'm reading weapon systems they're beyond our technology. How is this possible? Vexithara was beginning to understand the situation. Captain Morrison, what are you? We're human, Jake replied simply. We come from a world where conflict was constant for thousands of years. We learned to fight and we learned to survive. When we reached the stars, we brought those lessons with us. Navigation Officer Tony Blake looked up from his station. Captain, more alien ships are approaching. Looks like reinforcements. How many? 30 vessels, sir. All heavily armed, Jake sighed. Commander Vexthara, I was hoping we could resolve this peacefully. But it seems your friends want to escalate the situation. The alien commander was receiving reports from his officers. The human ship had somehow hidden technology that made it a match for their entire fleet. And now more Zephyrian ships were arriving, turning what should have been a simple capture mission into a potential battle. Captain Morrison, Vexthara said carefully, perhaps we can discuss this situation. There may have been a misunderstanding. I'm afraid the time for discussion has passed, Commander. You scanned our ship without permission, threatened my crew, and planned to take us prisoner for experimentation. In human terms, that's an act of war. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her station. Captain, the alien reinforcements are powering weapons. They're planning to attack, Jake nodded. All crew, battle stations. Mr. Walsh, prepare to show our new friends what happens when they underestimate humanity. The Zephyrian fleet, 45 ships in total, began to spread into attack formation. They still believed they had the advantage. After all, they outnumbered the humans 45-1. They were about to learn that sometimes numbers don't matter. 3 years earlier, Captain Jake Morrison had stood in a briefing room at Terran Defense Command headquarters on Earth. Admiral Lisa Carter was explaining the philosophy behind humanity's newest warships, including the vessel that would become the UES Defiance. Gentlemen and ladies, Admiral Carter had said to the assembled officers, we are about to send you into the unknown. When humanity makes first contact with alien civilizations, we have no idea what we'll face. They could be peaceful. They could be hostile. They could be so advanced that our best weapons are useless against them. Colonel Peter Johnson, head of the Terran Defense Initiative, stepped forward to continue the briefing. That's why every ship in our deep space fleet is built on one core principle: aggressive camouflage. We assume any aliens we meet will be more advanced than us, so we make sure they underestimate us. Jake had raised his hand. Sir, how do we hide advanced technology from sensors that might be more sophisticated than ours? Excellent question, Captain. Dr. Rodriguez, would you explain? Dr. Amy Rodriguez, who would later serve as his science officer, had moved to the front of the room. The answer is layered deception. Every human warship has 3 levels of technology. First, the surface level that any scan will detect. This appears primitive but functional. Second, the intermediate level that deeper scans might find. This looks advanced but not threatening. Third, the true level that only we know about. Chief Engineer Maria Santos, attending the briefing as a design specialist, added her perspective. Take the Defiance's propulsion system as an example. Surface scans detect chemical thrusters in a basic fusion reactor. Deeper scans might find improved fusion technology in ion drives. But the real power source is a contained singularity drive that no scan can detect, because it's surrounded by quantum dampening fields. Colonel Johnson activated a holographic display of the ship. Every system follows this pattern. The hull appears to be standard metal alloys, but it's actually metamaterial armor that can shift its properties instantly. The weapons look like kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives, but they're relativistic rail cannons and antimatter warheads. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Walsh, who was attending as a weapons specialist, studied the display. "Sir, how do we hide antimatter warheads from detection?" "They're not armed until we need them," Maria explained. "The antimatter is stored in separate containment fields throughout the ship. When we need the weapons, the antimatter is rapidly assembled and loaded. Until then, sensors just detect inert components." Admiral Carter took over again. "The philosophy comes from our history. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've learned that the best way to survive is to make your enemies think you're weaker than you are. When they attack what they think is an easy target, they're unprepared for your real capabilities." Dr. Rodriguez brought up historical examples on the screen. Look at the Trojan horse or camouflaged warships in World War II or stealth aircraft. Humans have always understood that hiding your true strength is often more valuable than displaying it. But there's more to it than just military deception. Colonel Johnson continued. "We've designed these ships to learn about our enemies while they think they're studying us. Every scan they perform on our vessels tells us about their technology, their sensor frequencies, their scan patterns, their analytical methods. By the time they realize we're not primitive, we know everything about them." Jake was beginning to understand the brilliance of the plan. "So first contact becomes an intelligence-gathering operation?" "Exactly. While they're laughing at our primitive technology, we're mapping their entire fleet composition, learning their tactical doctrines, and identifying their weaknesses." Maria Santos explained the technical details. "Every human ship carries quantum entanglement communicators that can't be detected or intercepted. The moment we encounter aliens, all our scan data is transmitted instantly to Earth. Even if our ship is destroyed, the information survives." "What about crew training?" asked Tony Blake, who would become the Defiance's navigation officer. Admiral Carter smiled. "Every person on these ships has been trained in deception operations. You know how to act primitive while gathering intelligence. You know how to appear helpless while preparing for battle. Most importantly, you know how to make enemies overconfident." Dr. Rodriguez added, "Overconfidence is humanity's greatest weapon against advanced aliens. When they think they're facing primitives, they make mistakes. They don't take proper precautions. They reveal their capabilities unnecessarily. They give us the very information we need to defeat them." Colonel Johnson brought up another display showing various alien contact scenarios. "We've run thousands of simulations. In every case where aliens initially see us as primitive, we have significant advantages. They scan us thoroughly, revealing their sensor technology. They threaten us, showing us their weapons. They try to capture us, demonstrating their tactics. By the time they realize their mistake," Admiral Carter concluded, "we know everything about them and they know nothing about us." The briefing had continued for several hours, covering every aspect of the deception doctrine. Jake learned about the false maintenance panels that hid weapon systems, the fake crew quarters that concealed additional armor, and the dummy computer cores that made their artificial intelligence look primitive. "Remember," Admiral Carter had said in closing, "this strategy only works if everyone plays their part perfectly. You must genuinely appear to be operating primitive technology. You must seem concerned about their superior capabilities. You must act like a species that just barely achieved spaceflight." "What if they're actually peaceful?" Jake had asked. "Then we reveal the truth gradually and hopefully build a positive relationship. But if they're hostile, we make sure they regret underestimating humanity." Now, 3 years later, Captain Jake Morrison was putting those lessons into practice. The Zephyrians had done exactly what the simulations predicted. They had scanned his ship thoroughly, revealing their technology. They had threatened his crew, showing their weapons and tactics. They had tried to capture him, demonstrating their standard procedures. And now they were about to learn what happened when you underestimated humanity. The UES Defiance hung in space, no longer looking like a primitive vessel. Its metamaterial armor gleamed with internal energy. Its weapon ports were open and ready, and its gravitic drives bent space around it in ways that Zephyrian science said were impossible. Jake looked around his bridge at the crew who had trained for this moment. Each of them had played their part perfectly, maintaining the deception until it was time to reveal the truth. All stations report ready. Captain, Ryan called out. Then let's show them what human engineering really looks like. Commander Vexithera stared at his tactical display in growing horror. The human ship that had seemed so primitive just minutes ago was now showing energy readings that exceeded anything in the Zephyrian military database. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to understand what they were facing. Science Officer Kethamol, report, Vexithera demanded. Sir, their power signature has stabilized at 4,000% above what we initially detected. But that's not the worst part. Kethamol's voice was shaking. I'm reading weapon systems that shouldn't be possible. They have some kind of electromagnetic acceleration system that can fire projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. And their defenses? Unknown, sir. Our scanners can't penetrate their hull anymore. They're using some kind of quantum interference field that scrambles our sensors. On the UES Defiance, Captain Jake Morrison was calmly receiving reports from his crew. The transformation from apparent primitiveness to advanced warship was complete, and every system was functioning perfectly. Dr. Rodriguez, what's the status of the alien fleet? 45 ships total, Captain. They're moving into standard battle formation, but they're hesitating. I think our revelation has confused them. Chief Engineer Maria Santos looked up from her console. All primary systems are online, Captain. The singularity drive is stable. Metamaterial armor is at full effectiveness, and our gravitic shields are ready. Excellent. Mr. Walsh, weapon status? Lieutenant Commander Ryan Walsh was almost smiling at his station. 6 relativistic rail cannons are charged and ready. Antimatter warheads are assembled and loaded. Point defense systems are active. And sir, the aliens are still using the same shield frequencies we detected in their initial scans. Which means our weapons are specifically calibrated to penetrate their defenses. Jake nodded. Navigation, what's our tactical position? Tony Blake worked at his controls. We're surrounded, sir, but our gravitic drives give us mobility they can't match. I can put us anywhere in this battle space in under 3 seconds. Across space, the Zephyrian reinforcement fleet was taking position alongside Commander Vexithera's original ships. Fleet Admiral Quinthara, commanding the reinforcements, opened a communication channel with Vexithara. Commander, what is the situation? Our sensors are detecting unusual energy signatures. Admiral, the human ship is not what it appeared to be. They have technology that may exceed our own. Impossible. These humans are primitives. Your own scans confirmed it. Admiral, I recommend extreme caution. They have weapons that... Fleet Admiral Quinthara cut him off. Commander, you are allowing yourself to be intimidated by inferior beings. All ships prepare to fire. We will destroy this vessel and take the crew for study. Captain Morrison heard the alien communications through his ship's interceptors. Dr. Rodriguez was translating in real time. Captain, the alien admiral is ordering an attack. They still think they can win through superior numbers. Jake touched his communication panel. Attention, Zephyrian fleet. This is Captain Morrison. You have one chance to withdraw peacefully. We do not wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves. Fleet Admiral Quinthara's response was immediate. Human vessel, you will surrender or be destroyed. You are outnumbered 45-1. Admiral, you're making a mistake, but I suppose some lessons can only be learned the hard way. All hands prepare for combat. The Zephyrian fleet opened fire first. 45 ships launched plasma torrents and particle beams simultaneously, enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. The space around the Defiance lit up with energy discharges as the alien weapons converged on their target. The UES Defiance simply wasn't there anymore. What? Fleet Admiral Quinthara stared at his display. Where did they go? The human ship had moved using its gravitic drives, slipping through space in a way that Zephyrian sensors couldn't track. It reappeared behind the alien formation, and Lieutenant Commander Walsh opened fire. The first relativistic rail cannon shot struck a Zephyrian cruiser amidships. The projectile, moving at 30% of light speed, punched through the alien ship's shields as if they didn't exist. The kinetic energy transfer was devastating. The cruiser broke apart instantly, its hull unable to withstand the impact. Impossible, Science Officer Kethmal whispered. How can kinetic weapons be that powerful? Before anyone could answer, 5 more rail cannon shots fired in rapid succession. Each one found a different target. Each one destroyed a Zephyrian warship completely. In less than 10 seconds, the human ship had eliminated 6 vessels from the alien fleet. Chief Engineer Maria Santos was monitoring the ship's performance. All systems nominal, Captain. The gravitic drives are handling the combat maneuvers perfectly. Point defense status? Online and tracking. The aliens are launching missiles now. Hundreds of Zephyrian missiles streak toward the Defiance, guided by the most advanced targeting systems in their arsenal. They never reached their target. Hidden weapon ports opened across the human ship's hull, revealing point defense systems that the aliens had never detected. Streams of coherent energy reached out and destroyed every incoming missile. Dr. Rodriguez was analyzing the battle in real time. Captain, their plasma weapons are powerful but slow to recharge. After each volley, there's a 15-second gap where they're vulnerable. Mr. Blake, can you exploit that timing? Navigation Officer Tony Blake was already working the problem. Yes, sir. I can time our movements to attack during their recharge cycles. The Defiance moved again, its gravitic drives allowing impossible maneuvers. It accelerated to positions that Zephyrian ships couldn't reach, fired devastating barrages during their recharge periods, and disappeared before return fire could be aimed. Commander Vexathara watched in horror as his fleet was systematically destroyed. The human ship moved like nothing he had ever seen, striking with weapons that defied understanding, protected by defenses that seemed unbreachable. All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel, Fleet Admiral Quinthera ordered desperately. Sir, Tactical Officer Morden reported, we can't target them effectively. Their movements are too fast and unpredictable. Then fire everything at where they're going to be. Sir, we don't know where they're going to be. The battle was becoming a slaughter. The Zephyrians had trained to fight enemies with similar technology and tactics. They had never faced an opponent that could move faster than their sensors could track, strike harder than their shields could resist, and disappear before they could respond. Captain Morrison stood calmly on his bridge watching the tactical display. His crew worked with professional efficiency, each person performing their role perfectly. They had trained for this scenario countless times. Captain, Dr. Rodriguez reported, I'm detecting communication attempts between the alien ships. They're trying to coordinate a new attack pattern. What kind of pattern? It looks like they're planning to surround us with overlapping fields of fire, trying to create a kill zone we can't escape from. Lieutenant Commander Walsh looked up from his weapons console. Sir, we could end this now. I have clear shots on all remaining enemy vessels. Jake considered the options. The aliens were planning one last desperate attack, hoping to overwhelm his ship through sheer firepower. They still didn't understand what they were facing. Mr. Walsh, select 6 more targets. When they begin their final attack, show them what human weapons can really do. The remaining Zephyrian ships moved into formation, creating an overlapping web of firing positions. Fleet Admiral Quinthara gave the order to fire everything they had. The space around the Defiance erupted in energy, as 39 alien warships unleashed their full arsenals simultaneously. It was the most concentrated firepower attack in Zephyrian military history. When the energy discharges faded, the human ship remained untouched, protected by shields that bent the laws of physics and armor that absorbed energy attacks harmlessly. Then the UES Defiance fired back. 6 more rail cannon shots, perfectly aimed, ended 6 more alien ships. The remaining Zephyrian fleet suddenly understood that they were not fighting a battle. They were being hunted. The space around Research Station Delta 9 was filled with debris from destroyed Zephyrian warships. Of the original 45 vessels that had confronted the UES Defiance, only 12 remained. These survivors hung motionless in space, their weapons powered down, their crews in shock. Captain Jake Morrison stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display. The battle had lasted less than 30 minutes, but it had changed everything. The galaxy now knew that humanity was not the primitive species they had appeared to be. Sir, Lieutenant Commander Ryan Walsh reported, the remaining alien ships have ceased all aggressive actions. They're not even trying to target us anymore. Communications from the enemy fleet? Communications Officer Tony Blake checked his console. Multiple signals, Captain. They're all trying to surrender. Jake nodded. Put Commander Vexathera through. The alien commander's face appeared on the main screen. Vexathera looked like he had aged years in the past hour. His large black eyes were wide with something Jake recognized as fear. Captain Morrison, Vexathera said quietly. We surrender. Please, no more destruction. Commander, I tried to tell you this could have been avoided. You chose to scan our ship without permission, threaten my crew, and attack us when we revealed our true capabilities. We thought. Our scans showed. Vexathera struggled to find words. How is this possible? How can one ship defeat an entire fleet? Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Each of them had performed perfectly during the battle, showing the galaxy what human training and technology could accomplish. Commander, humanity learned something long ago that your people apparently never did. We learned that survival isn't about having the biggest fleet or the most advanced weapons. It's about making sure your enemies underestimate you, while you learn everything about them. Dr. Amy Rodriguez was monitoring communications across the Zephyrian fleet. Captain, their ships are sending detailed battle reports to their homeworlds. The engagement data is spreading through their communication networks. Good. The more they know about what happened here, the better. Fleet Admiral Quinthera's voice came over the communication channel. Captain Morrison, I am Fleet Admiral Quinthera. I commanded the reinforcement fleet. I must ask, are there more ships like yours? Jake smiled slightly. Admiral, that's an interesting question. What do you think? Sir, if there are more vessels with your capabilities, the implications for galactic politics are enormous. Admiral, let me be very clear about something. The UES Defiance is not our most advanced warship. It's not even our newest design. We sent it on this mission specifically because we knew we might encounter hostile aliens, and we wanted to see what you were capable of. The silence from the alien fleet was profound. Chief Engineer Maria Santos looked up from her console and nodded to Jake. The message was being recorded and transmitted on all frequencies that their sensors had detected during the battle. This message is for any civilization listening, Jake announced, opening the channel to broadcast throughout local space. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth ship Defiance. Today, the Zephyrian Empire discovered that humanity is not the primitive species we appeared to be. He paused, looking directly into the camera. We are not conquerors. We do not seek to dominate other species, but we will not allow ourselves to be threatened, captured, or studied like laboratory animals. Any civilization that attempts to treat humanity as inferior will learn the same lesson the Zephyrians learned today. Navigation Officer Tony Blake was monitoring long-range sensors. Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships moving away from this area at high speed. Word is spreading fast. Let them spread the word. The galaxy needs to understand what they're dealing with. Jake turned back to the communication with the surviving Zephyrian ships. Commander Vexathera, you and your surviving vessels are free to go. Take this message back to your high command. Humanity is willing to establish peaceful relations with any species that approaches us with respect. But any attempt at aggression will be met with overwhelming force. Captain Morrison, Vexathera said carefully, may I ask about your true capabilities? Our military leaders will want to know what they're facing. Commander, you've seen one ship engage 45 of yours and win decisively. That should tell your leaders everything they need to know. But I'll give you one additional piece of information. Earth has been building ships like the Defiance for over 50 years. We have hundreds of them. This was not entirely true, but Jake knew the psychological impact of the statement would be significant. Fear was often more effective than actual weapons. Dr. Rodriguez was analyzing signals from across the sector. Captain, multiple civilizations are monitoring our communications. This battle is being discussed on networks spanning dozens of star systems. How are they reacting? Mixed responses, sir. Some species seem impressed. Others are concerned about a new military power in the galaxy. But I'm not detecting any immediate hostile responses. Jake was satisfied. The demonstration had achieved its purpose. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in terms that every species would understand. We are not to be underestimated. All hands, this is the captain. Our mission here is complete. Mr. Blake, set course for Earth, normal space, maximum speed. As the UES Defiance moved away from the battle site, leaving the Zephyrian survivors to contemplate their defeat, Jake opened a secure channel to Admiral Carter on Earth. Admiral, this is Captain Morrison reporting. First contact mission complete. The galaxy now knows we exist and they know we're not primitives. Admiral Carter's voice came back clearly despite the vast distance. Understood, Captain. How did they react to our revelation? About as expected, Admiral. Initial overconfidence followed by shock and fear when they realized their mistake. The demonstration was effective. Any casualties on our side? None, Admiral. The Defiance performed perfectly. Chief Santos and our engineering team deserve special recognition. And the aliens? Jake looked at the tactical display showing the debris field behind them. 33 vessels destroyed, 12 survivors. They'll think twice before threatening humans again. Very good, Captain. Return to Earth for debriefing. And Jake, well done. As the Defiance entered faster than light travel, Jake remained on the bridge, thinking about what had just happened. Humanity had taken its first major step onto the galactic stage, and they had done it in typical human fashion, by appearing weak while being strong, by learning everything about their enemies while revealing nothing about themselves, and by demonstrating overwhelming force when pushed too far. Behind them, the surviving Zephyrian ships were already transmitting detailed reports to their high command. The battle data would be analyzed by military strategists across the Empire, all reaching the same conclusion. Humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. On distant worlds, other alien civilizations were receiving the same message. A new species had arrived in galactic politics, one that had mastered the art of deception and possessed technology that defied easy categorization. And in shipyards throughout human space, construction crews were working around the clock, building more vessels like the Defiance, ships that looked primitive but carried the most advanced weapons humanity could devise, ships designed to hide humanity's true strength while gathering intelligence on potential enemies. The galaxy had been warned. How they chose to respond would determine whether humanity's next encounters were peaceful or violent. But one thing was certain. No one would ever again make the mistake of scanning a human battleship and thinking it was primitive. The age of human expansion had begun.